Wow, that needs to be tamed. That so needs to be tamed. Good day, YouTube, and welcome to another hangout. Don't know if anyone is joining tonight. Do not know. Tonight is a night that, again, I don't know. Mostly because I haven't heard from anybody today. I have not heard if anyone is up for this or not tonight, but since it is my usual thing I do, I thought I would go and do it because, yeah. So either people are going to join or they're not. Let's talk about a few things. Hey, Saskatchewan has been great. It is now what, June? What is the date today? It's June 8th. So we've been out of the Arctic since February 9th. We've been in Regina since February 10th. So we are looking at almost 4 months of time in this province. Province has treated us well. It really, other than stresses about money, which I know almost everybody in the world probably stresses about, life has been so much different than it's been in the past. Ooh, Regina Brewing's 1-year party is on, and it's getting crazy. I really wish my wife would give me permission to go to that, but I'm not allowed to get crazy anymore. So Regina, that was a message from Chris Tower, who is the brewmaster at Regina Brewing. Regina Brewing was Warehouse Brewing in the past, and now is Regina Brewing, and they've been Regina Brewing for a year. I'm not sure how long Chris has been there. Not entirely sure at all how long Chris has been there. Brian just sent me a message. I don't know if he's watching or not, so we'll answer him at the same time here. It's been going great. It's really been going great. Yeah, I can't complain about what has happened there. So the province has been good to us. My wife has an interview on Tuesday for a better job than what she has currently. What she has currently is actually a really good job, but she has an ability in her field to still step forward even more, and that really excites her. So I'm excited for her. I really hope she gets it. It comes with it a lot of bonuses that you wouldn't suspect, a lot of benefits that you wouldn't suspect, a pay raise, albeit not huge, but huge at the same time. When you figure that it's a $2 pay raise from what she's making right now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you figure $2 is $80 a week, and there is 52 weeks, that is a fairly substantial raise. It really is. $2 an hour, 40 hours a week, so $80 a week, 52 weeks in a year. You get what I'm saying. Yeah, it's been nice. The people are great. The weather can be insane. They talk about England, and if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. Here it's worse. You don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. Anything could happen. Anything. I mean, from tornado all the way down to sun to torrential rain. It can all happen in a one day. Very, very intriguing province. Um, Went out for as my wife called it, an adult play date today. Met a guy. Maybe it'll become a good friendship. Maybe it won't. He seems really cool. Cool being just a word you use, right? He seems really nice. He is intelligent, articulate, uh, has some great both Saskatchewan-esque offering suggestions as well as food offering suggestions. And I mean, I got fat eating, so when you tell me, "Hey, try this food," I get really excited about that. Uh, Other than that, yeah, it's an intriguing thing. It's an intriguing thing. It's an intriguing thing moving your whole life away. Uh, Good day, Brian. So you weren't here when I am. Yeah, it's it's very interesting moving your entire life, and we've moved our entire life so many times now in such a short period of time that it's really intriguing. Sorry, I'm by my lonesome again. Nobody wants to play anymore. All I can do is hope that somebody wants to play. Uh I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm trying to make friends like I did today. I'm in my 40s, right? There are no groups that really just go at 40. Hey, join our group. So when you can find the outliers that are interested in meeting new people and finding new people to talk to and interact with and all that, it's great, especially when you really only have the internet to chat with people anymore from your past, and the people you used to hang out with and talk to all the time are all older now. We've all got older. We're in our 40s, this and that. So yo to yourself. We are all in our 40s now, so finding time to or late 30s or whatever. So finding time to do this stuff, and especially with me now being 2 hours behind, it really becomes hard. And I mean, like I said, the worst part for me is that the majority of the people I interact with are now back in Ontario. Um, I mean, I I haven't interacted with Dan in a bit, but Dan's in Alberta. I haven't interacted with Beer Zerker in a while. Beer Zerker being in Alberta. Haven't interacted with Nick in forever. Nick being out in New Brunswick, so even further away hour wise than the guys in Ontario. So it really hits home that it's a lonesome thing, really. I think, uh, and I knew that the time in the Arctic would create that type of thing, and I don't I don't begrudge the Arctic at all for the things that happen to us. There are things that I don't like talking about that happen to me. There are things I don't like talking about that happen to my family. I have talked about them, but I don't like talking about them. And I don't begrudge it for doing that because it opened up the opportunity for us to continue our growth and our movement elsewhere. And I mean, Saskatchewan seems like a great place to lay our hat, um, to take off our coat and sit down. The only problem is, again, we came here in our 40s, so I I am lonely. I am. I It's one of the reasons I continue doing the beer review, because even though nobody always interacts, it's still almost as if I'm talking to somebody. Um, and I know that even the hours of work that I have don't always lend well to creating those relationships, to the point where a lot of those relationships are going to have to come from people I work with because they work the same type of hours. But yeah, so like Brian asked, how is the new? It's good. It is. I really enjoy it. I really do. That's not a bad beer at all. Excuse me. Um, if anyone has any topics they want to talk about, if anyone knows anyone that wants to join, let me know. Like I said, there's only so much talking by myself I can do. Um, who knows how much longer I'll stay on before I decide to just go offline? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Uh I don't even know what to talk. So we went to the Western Development Museum. Great time was had by all of us. Some great things were seen. Who will win the Stanley Cup? Ooh, that series starts tonight, does it not? I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to see the cup come back to a Canadian team. So to an extent, I hope Edmonton wins, but I think I think Florida is a
Okay,
more.
it's no big deal that you don't know.
Shut up, Siri. I think Florida is a more well-rounded team. So I think Florida may end up taking it in the end. Oh, see, that's probably why nobody's hearing it. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs starting. No, I don't. I think Florida might end up taking it in the end because they are a more well-rounded team. I think they have better goaltending. Maybe not as much star power up at the forefront, but once you take all positions into account, I think the Panthers are a more well-rounded team versus the Oilers, who are like the Oilers of old. Their goalies are not nearly as good. It's like Grant Fuhr's in net again. So if they win, maybe the new dynasty will start, because that's kind of what it reminds me of. Is we have so much firepower up front that nobody will beat us because of the amount of goals we can put into the net. And I think that's their only way of taking the series, is just being too overpowering with the firepower. Because I don't think a defensive game is what's going to win them the series, because you get too many shots on those goalies. And this is coming from an Ottawa Senators fan, right? Like, I'm a Senators fan. My team fucking sucks, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Oilers will. Here's the thing, right? It's been so long for the Oilers that I have a feeling that if they win the cup, there's a riot. If they don't win the cup, there's a riot. And a lot of the Western teams remember when Vancouver made it to the finals, and then there was a riot when they didn't win the cup? Like, I think it's going to end badly one way or the other. It'll be really cool to see the cup come back to Canada, have a Canadian team win it again, because who was the last Canadian team to win it? Wasn't it the fucking Canadiens? The Habitants? Way back when? Way back when being what? Was it late 90s that the last Canadian team won the Stanley Cup? Hasn't been Toronto in forever. Not Edmonton, not Calgary, not Vancouver. The Canadians were the last team, correct? See, I haven't paid enough attention. City Limits Salted Lime Session Ale. '94. Okay, so I was at a CNIB camp when they won the cup. I was at a CNIB camp called St. Joseph's, and it was a camp for the blind, and there was kids from all across the country that were at that camp. And they won while I was at the camp. And I remember all the kids from Quebec being ecstatic. I was like, whatever. But I was a kid, right? I was 12. I don't fucking know. 93. Okay. I'd have to go look it up, but yeah, I think I was 12 at that camp. Maybe I was 11 because there was a girl that kept hitting on me then, and I didn't have any interest in girls, so I might have been 11. I don't know. Maybe I was 12 and I still had no interest in girls. I don't know. Excuse me. I know I had 2 girlfriends in grade 9. One of them was a grade 12 that I dated for like a week before she realized how young I was, and then we broke up. And then, oh no, only the one in grade 9. My next was when I was in grade 10, and it was a grade 9 girl that I was dating. And we dated for about 7 months, and then we broke up. And that was my last girlfriend until Arn Prior, where I dated a girl for about a month, and then we broke up. And then I dated another girl for about a month, still at ADHS, and then we broke up. Then I had a one-night stand, and then I had another one-night stand, and then I dated the girl that I married first. Was with her for a long time. Then I had like 18 different girlfriends in the span of a year, and I married Alicia. There we go. That's my dating story. Not that we had any reason to bring up the dating story, but that was my dating story. I did a lot better looking like Santa Claus than I ever did when I was built. My neck was like this, and actually, I was kind of built while looking like Santa Claus too, because those were the years after my ex-wife left. I was working on myself, trying to make. Because you're not happy unless you're happy. Nobody else can make you happy, and it's a true statement here. I'm just blabbering because nobody's here joining me. Brian should come in and say hi. Put that back there. Now we have a Great Western Lime. Lots of lime beers tonight. So I had the non-alcoholic beer at Multinational. They have a non-alcoholic, and it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. How is your place of business there, Brian? Is it going good? Actually, if they're playing tonight, are they playing in Florida or are they playing in Edmonton? Who has home ice advantage? See, I haven't paid attention to it at all, really. That's an interesting meme that my buddy just sent me. Because this is what he sent me. And this time it wasn't. Brian isn't allowed to send me anything anymore. Apparently, Brian got himself in trouble with my wife. He sent me a TikTok or a possibly like a Facebook short or something, and yeah, he got us both in trouble. because, yeah, because he did. He got us both in trouble. Basically, what he sent me was a meme, and the guy was asking his wife random things, and she kept yelling at him, "No, it's not normal." And yeah, she was like, "You do not need any encouragement. I am going to beat that man." In Florida. Okay, so it's late. Or I was just curious because if the game started at like 6 p.m. my time, it was 5 p.m. For Edmonton, and yeah. No, I was supposed to do an interview with the Rhino tonight, and at around 3:15 or so, I had an maybe 3:30 ish. I had a message from my co-host. Yeah, it was about 3:30. I've got to piece myself back together a bit from a nap because he's old. He's old. Don't worry, I take naps too, and I have to just trying to figure out a time for tonight. And then he called me at like 5 p.m. my time, so 7 p.m. his. It's now 5:58, and I was on the phone when he called, and I was like, sorry, I was on the phone about 5 or 6 minutes later, and I just haven't heard from him. So I'm guessing he went to bed because I mean, again, the work he does is usually that get up early, go to bed early type of stuff. So we've been trying to get the it's basically been since the time change that we've had trouble. And so we'll keep trying to get the interview with a rhino to work, but we may even have to try and do it some other night, just whatever nights I'm off, and just see if we can get it to work. Because again, I understand, I fully appreciate that that you need to sleep early, and I fully and utterly appreciate that. And I will try my best to make this work. We've been trying our best to make it work, and it just hasn't since it's been hard since the time change. That's what it comes down to. And when I get off at like 8:30 at night Ontario time, at 6:30 here, I don't get home and ready for this until like 9 Ontario time, and he goes to bed usually between like 8:30 and 10:30. So it's become a bit of a mismatch of trying to get this to work. But people seem to really enjoy it, so we want it to work. It's just not been something we've been able to get to work recently. Looks like somebody bit this can. Intriguing. Um, yeah, other than that stuff, I don't think I have much to say. Great, the game's about to happen. My wife wouldn't be interested in the game. That's part of the problem, right? I'm basically on my own. My wife makes a joke that she's not enough for me to just be because my wife is an full on introvert, so she is okay with our life being just me and her. And I'm okay with that too. She is enough for me to be happy. I really am. But I'm lonely because I am partially extroverted. So I really like that interaction that you can get. Hey, there's Chris right there. Okay, I can try and hold out for 30 minutes, Chris. I was actually just discussing about Interview with a Rhino and how we both know that it works and we both like it and we want it to work. But with the 2 hour time change, it's just been hard getting times to work out. Excuse me. I thoughts on libtard social justice. See, that's just anyone that uses libtards just bothers me too. I have the same thought process with hardcore conservatives as I do with hardcore leftists. Like hardcore left or right bothers me. I'm a centralist. Fiscally, I'm very conservative. Liberally, I'm very liberal when it comes to personal life. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care any of that. None of it bothers me at all. Whatever you do is what you do. And I hate that we put shit in place to try and screw with people. I also hate when we try to shove shit down people's throats. Um, so like I said, I'm fairly centralist in the way I look at things and the way I think about things and the way I feel about things. And it is it is what it is. I mean, I think there's morons on both sides. I really do. I think there's people that try to push agendas that are way too far on both sides. And I hate that we have these two sides. I hate that we can't, as a people, try and make things better. I hate that we do that. And you're allowed to think that. I think they both bother me. I think anyone that tells my wife if she was to, and again, this is hardcore right. I mean, anyone that tells my wife, hey, if she was to be raped and wanted an abortion, you can't do that. No, that's. Are you going to raise the kid? No, you're not. So shut the fuck up and don't care about what she's going to do with her body. On the left, well, you need to respect. No, you have the freedom of choice. You have the freedom to have whatever beliefs you have. You don't have the freedom for consequence-free beliefs. You don't have the freedom to. Well, you don't have the right to your opinion to the point where I can't say your opinion's stupid. You have full on right to that opinion. I don't have to support that opinion. I have to support your right to have that opinion. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, and both sides don't like you having your own opinion. You need to be either with this side or with that side most of the time. And like I said, fiscally, money wise, I'm very conservative. I really do believe that we should be helping our own country before we help others. If we took the money that we have sent out to other countries and put it into policies and procedures and everything in Canada, we could really have helped Canada. But we do so much foreign aid while there's so many homeless people here. We do so much foreign aid while there's so many people that are fighting just to survive here. And here's the thing, once you fix your own population and you have a population that's running and able to support itself without all these policies and programs and everything else, then you can really start becoming more and more global. And I think we need, as a world, to look more and more global. But at the same time, before you can go global, you need to fix your problems at home. I won't say where I work, Brian, as you know. Some people do know where I work. Some people know where I was applying for, but I won't talk about it in name at all. What I can share about it is it seems to be very much about the people. It seems to be very much about thanking everybody for everything they do. Seems to be very much about hard work and it was a company that started in 33. The current family that owns it did not end up getting into the company until the 40s, and they have owned it since the 40s. They have a tendency to get in very young. The first member of that family that bought the company bought it when he was 19. His kids started up as owners at 25 and 23. When the one brother bought out everybody else in the family and his kids took over now, they were in their early 20s as well. But they also feel that everybody in the family should do some of those jobs. And there are lots of stories from the last owner before his kids took over. And there's lots of story from him about how he started working. I was sent in to work during the summer, and I stocked shelves, or I put together parts, or I did this, I did that. There's so much history that's really cool to hear, and there's so much history that makes you go, wow, it's amazing that this company was able to stay afloat, that this company was able to succeed, persevere, become something special, and take off. And it took off in a way that I never realized it did. Um, it's intriguing. It's intriguing to look at the things he did and look at the way he think they the whole family thought about people. And hey, I got a 4-pack of beer. My first day there, I got a 4-pack of beer to go home with. You know how to win me over. And a lot of places, the retail rules are that you don't get a discount on anything that's on sale. The only thing we don't get a discount on is anything that we're just clearing out at under cost. Even if it's on sale, even if it's a sale of save 60%, if it's a regular sale, we still get our discount, which is amazing. And I mean, you can't ask for better than that, than a company that doesn't worry about that stuff, right? And then your policies for a lot of things are more about making the customer happy, which is great as well, because you don't get screamed at as much. I mean, and it's great to see enough people working. It's great to see enough people that are paid well enough that they can survive. There's so many people that have been there 20 years that aren't even in management. I have on Friday we celebrated the 20-year anniversary of one of our warehouse workers. Like, you've worked for the company for 20 years, like, and you haven't thought about leaving. That's amazing, because it's not heard from a lot in retail anymore to begin with, let alone any other job. There's so many people that change jobs so often. For me to be there as long as she has been there, I will have had to have worked there.
Oh, please don't let me stop this fantastic storytelling.
No, I'm just saying, like, I worked many jobs where people are there that long and want to be there, where there's lots of choice to go somewhere else, and they decide not to.
You get odd, I don't know if appointmentship is the correct term, but some people get appointed leaders just from being the duration they've been at a company, whether they have leadership skills or not.
Yeah, and it's
Ooh, are we gonna mix politics and beer tonight? This is kind of like getting your hair cut, isn't it?
yeah, I'm not. I don't think there's any good choice. That's really what it comes down to. That's all. I'm not going to go into where I sit. You here on the panel with me know how I think. A lot of people know how I think. I yeah.
I just got that vision of Homer's brain with the dancing bear at the circus.
I do kind of think like that. Yes, you are not wrong. It takes a lot to get me to get into that stuff, and I don't like it because I am very recognizable, and anything you talk about in that genre can affect your work. It can affect your career. It can affect your life.
Absolutely.
I really don't think there is very many good choices in Canada for leadership. Our current leader, has he done everything horribly? No. Has he done everything great? No. Most leaders, have they done everything horribly? Probably not. Have they done everything great? Probably not. I think thing about a population is a population has to be able to sit back and realistically evaluate something from a point of view other than this is exactly what I want. Uh,
Yes.
I mean, Ford. I'm not in Ontario anymore, so it doesn't matter. I never liked Ford. I never did. But I can't deny that there are some things he's done for Ontario that seems to have worked really well. Some things that he's done for Ontario that seems to have not worked very well. But I mean, again, that's every leader out there, and you need to be able to objectively look at things. And I don't think there's enough people in this country right now, well, in even this continent right now, because if you look at the US, it's all you either follow this guy or you follow this guy. There's not enough people that can look at something objectively and talk about the pros and cons of things that are happening.
Generally, that's why we have two parties. It's to keep the people divided. What the fuck kind of kettle did I run into tonight? Are you ready to talk about a little bit of beer, Mr. Rhino?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
I've got an itch I want to scratch with you. I'll take when if you pop up the questions, I'll read them for you.
Okay. There's one. Excuse me.
Our friend the mustard here says, lurking while I make some beer battered fish, Big Rock traditional ale, and that's I'd like a big little shout out there too. I love Big Rock beer. I put them up with, I would say, Upper Canada, or what Upper Canada used to be here in Ontario. Are you a Big Rock kind of guy, Chad?
I don't mind Big Rock. I remember when I first got into craft beer, Grasshopper was big in Ontario, and you could get Grasshopper, Warthog, and Traditional from Big Rock in Ontario at the time.
Okay. They make a fantastic Scottish ale. I think it's a wee heavy at that. So what I want to ask you tonight is notes that you appreciate in a beer, but we'll call this segment, hey, take it easy, not too much. I'll give you an example. I love lemon notes in a beer that usually come from a collision between yeast and hops, but I'm not a big fan of a full-on lemon beer. What's a note that you appreciate, but you want to say, hey, take it easy?
I think lemon is one. Lime is another one. I personally like lime in my beer more than lemon. And I mean, yeah, tonight I'm drinking a lot of lime beers, but you know, it is what it is. This is what I found in the bottom of the fridge. So another thing is, and last week when I had Tim on here, we were talking about it. I did end up finding my first very infected, very foul sour in a long time. And I think that's another one of the take it easy type of moments. Sours are huge. I get it. Sours are the big thing. Sours are what everybody's making, and everybody's making it because they make huge amounts of money on it.
Mm-hmm.
And not every brewery knows how to work with sours. And I mean, there's several different ways for you to sour your beer. There really is. And I think that the biggest problem that we have is that too many places that have no working knowledge of souring beers is playing with sours. Like what happened was these guys allowed their lactobacillus to get infected with oxygen. So their beer tastes like throw up. And I was really hoping that it was just the one can. And then I opened another can and it also tasted like throw up. So it was a fuck up. Now I read a lot of reviews of it, so I don't think it was a fuck up that happened to the entire batch, because there's a lot of people that have talked really well about the beer.
Right.
But it's made it so that I don't know if I'd ever try another sour from them, because
I understand. No, completely. We've got I want to get to this comment right here from Matt Humphrey. Very generous again. Matt Humphrey has contributed $50 to the show. Good evening, gentlemen. Fuck politics. Live in your bubble around theirs, but always stay aware. I'm drinking a Unibrew mix pack tonight and enjoying the flavor country. Matt, this is Unibrew country here between Chad and I. What are you sucking back tonight?
Yeah, what's even in your box? Because I've had a lot of Unibrews and some of them are really, really good. Even though Sleeman owns them, some of them are really, really good.
The mustard is drinking. Well, he says orange. I don't know if that's in a reference to what. Well, no, he was drinking Big Rock. how does a sour beer get infected? It's almost like when you have expired sour cream or expired yogurt, mold on a mushroom. Like how can you infect an infection?
I get what you're asking there, but I mean, again, it depends on how you're souring a beer, right? You sour the traditional way. You're looking at when you sour the traditional way is when you get stuff like what Small Pony Beer Works makes, which is all those like really high acidic, phenic, very woody, very kind of dry sour type of beers.
Right.
That all really taste like after you drank them that you took a wooden tongue depressor and like played around the back of your tongue with it. And when you play with the lactobacillus, when you kettle sour, it's the more affordable way to do it, and it's also the way that shows off a lot more of the flavor of the beer and the flavor of the fruits that you would use and stuff. However, lactobacillus can go bad, and lactobacillus on its own, and like you said, lactobacillus as a strain of yeast, as a strain of protein that you could use and all that, it is an infection of the beer. But if you let too much oxygen get to it, it is now an infected infection. It's the weirdest thing ever. It tastes so fucking gross. Any brewer that has used lactobacillus and they've allowed it to, I don't know, they left the fucking container out with the lid off for too long before they went boop into the beer. It always tastes like throw up. It gives this very acidic, very throw up flavor, and you can even smell it on the beer. And as soon as I smelt it, I was like, "Oh!" I remember throwing up and tasting that, and then I drank it, and I'm like, "Oh!" And it's like baby throw up, if you know what I mean. It has that really acidic, really sour milk type of scent and taste.
With that, how are you with breweries catching on the trend of making sour beers but taking shortcuts? I remember a beer about a year ago that was brewed with sweet tarts. The mustard says, I'm not opposed to Clamato in a glass macro lager.
Okay, so Red Eyes. He's talking about Red Eyes. Yeah, some people like them.
Unibrew Don de Dieu, Tropistel, Maudit. Petite Maudit. Tell us about that one there, Matt. And Saison
I've never had that one. And sorry, could you ask your question again there, Chris? Because I got sidetracked with the...
With sour beers being a current trend, how are you with breweries taking a bit of a shortcut on it? I was saying I'm familiar with a beer that brewed with sweet tarts.
I mean, we've talked about it before, right? Like fruit beers from big guys, I expect it to be natural or artificial flavors. And when I get a fruit beer from a craft brewery and they use the natural or artificial flavors, I get disappointed. However, if the beer's good, the beer's good. And that's what it comes down to it. So, I mean, if you're making a short-cutted sour beer, as long as the beer is good, I might make fun of it, but I don't care.
That's right. We did talk about this, particularly if with this current economy, if those beers, if they're taking shortcuts, if they can be more affordable to us as well.
And that's the other problem, right? A lot of these guys are taking shortcuts so that they can make the beer more affordable, but they're still charging you the big price on the beer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And yes, sour beers should be sour, but in what context they're sour versus tart or sour all depends on the way they made it.
Phillips sour tastes good. Do they shortcut? The fine folks at Phillips.
Their dino sours, for instance, are usually lactobacillus kettle soured. I mean, some breweries and some brewers will consider kettle souring taking a shortcut.
Okay.
And I mean, it's usually when you hear that, it's from the guys that do the traditional souring. I actually have a traditional sour in the fridge. I have a Lindemann's Peach in the fridge. Okay. However, I can't drink it because I forgot that they fucking cork it under the cap. So I decapped it last week when I was talking to Tim on here. And then I'm like, motherfucker, I don't have a corkscrew. So I need to get a corkscrew to drink that beer. But that being said, yeah, to guys that do the traditional souring, they will even look at kettle souring as a shortcut. I don't look at kettle souring as a shortcut. I look at using adjuncts that are sour to make your sour. a shortcut. So, like Chris was bringing up, the sweet tarts beers. There's also guys that will use like lemon juice only to sour their beers. Kind of a shortcut. It can work depending on what you're using or what you're doing.
Right.
And in to an extent, even fruit flavoring that is sour. Like you can get natural sour cherry flavor instead of using cherry or anything like that. Pour it in there, and you're going to get a sour cherry flavored beer. Kind of a shortcut. But yeah, Dino Sours. I don't know if they're still doing it the way they used to do it, but years ago when they made their first sours, they were doing kettle souring. I have not seen anything on the can that would make me think that they're not kettle souring. So to some people, they would call that a shortcut. To me, I'm perfectly a-okay with it.
Brian Smith, in regards to major brewers, who has taken the most risk with creating new beers? That's a great question.
Whew. I don't know who I haven't had enough major brewer beers lately. Like I don't see a lot of them here. Guinness, Diageo did a big thing with their non-alcoholic Guinness. Like just thinking about doing that is a big push, especially since you sent it like almost worldwide. You made huge batches of that. A lot of the big guys, instead of playing with beer now, are playing with like seltzers and iced tea and other such things. I mean, Coors has a whole seltzer line, as does Bud, as does a lot of places. I haven't seen anything really new from Bud other than Double Line. I don't know.
I'll have to figure out who makes this. This doesn't sound like the genius idea of the year, but currently at the Rogers Center, formerly the Skydome, they're selling tall boys of 7% 7-Up. Does that sound like the best beverage to serve to 30,000 people?
I actually just saw that at the Urban Cellars yesterday when I was walking through Urban Cellars, and I'm like, "What is this?" I know you talked to me about it, but I hadn't seen it yet, and I'm like, "This is not something that we need here."
I love a review on it. Oh, I can pick up on the 7-Up and the alcohol.
And that's 7% alcohol. 7-Up isn't a strong enough flavored soda pop to hide 7% alcohol.
Speaking of 7% alcohol, have you checked in any further on the non-alcoholic beer scene out your way?
I actually just had a non-alcoholic beer at the brewery I was at today.
For heaven's sakes.
They had a non-alcoholic beer. It was slightly soured. It was a wheat beer. They basically made a non-alcoholic goza, and it was fairly nice. I mean, it looked the part. It was a little lighter colored. They said they're thinking about making another batch where they make it like 0.5% alcohol instead of 0 by mixing in like 20% of an actual beer.
Yes.
So I'm intrigued on how this is going to go, but that was the first locally made non-alcoholic beer I've had here. You don't see a lot of them. You can get Excel, you can get Beck Zero, you can get all the ones you would normally see at the dollar store, like Heineken, Grolsch, that type of stuff. But you basically go kind of cold after that. We don't really have. Actually, I can't say that because I saw Partake at Walmart. So even Partake is starting to come in here in Saskatchewan. I was going to say you don't see a lot of the ones that you would see in Ontario, but
that classic non-alcoholic beer taste that we used to have from Molson Excel, we tried it with President's Choice non-alcoholic. You know that taste.
Yeah.
It's leaving the scene. It's still around, but the craft take on non-alcoholic beers is proving that you don't need to have that distinct taste.
No, that under attenuated sweetness and everything else. That I never understood why that became the taste anyway. But it's. I'm happy it's going away.
It had to pass somebody's lips, as it left the brewery. And I think we talked about this where, well, it tastes like shit, but yeah, apparently, non-alcoholic beer at that time was supposed to taste like shit. So out she goes. I want to go back to Brian's comment here again in regards to major brewers. Who has taken the most risk with creating new beers? Do you have any comments on Anheuser-Busch, and how they're continuing with Bud Light after they got Kid Rocked.
Oh, kid, it's great on them for doing that. I mean, continue. Tell the people that are going to cancel you because of something like that to go fuck yourself. Because this is how canceling works, right? Canceling works if you care.
Right.
If somebody tries to cancel you and you care, so you run away, that's how you get canceled. There's so many people that one of Brian's favorite people to listen to is one of my favorite people to listen to, Jim Cornette. The amount of times people have tried to cancel Jim Cornette. And Jim Cornette's usually getting canceled by liberals, which is funny because Jim Cornette is actually a very liberal guy. But the amount of people that have tried to cancel him, he's like, I don't fucking give a shit. And he just keeps going because that's what happens. You get canceled if you decide to run away. And a lot of people do. It's easier to just walk away. Now, I mean, to Brian's comment there too, I mean, if we look at breweries in the big picture, you could probably find a lot of breweries that have one of the major guys that do very experimental, very, very out there things, but they're doing it through the side panels of their breweries, right? Like all the craft brewers they've bought out. The amount of craft brewers that have been bought out and are owned by other guys, like Bourbon County Stout from Goose Island still exists. It's still a great beer, and they experiment with it still. They still bring out new barrel variants and everything else, things you wouldn't expect to see. So, I mean, you'd have to look at the entire plethora of everything under their umbrella to think of who's doing the most experimental beers. But if we're doing that, I would say probably Anheuser-Busch, as much as I probably don't want to admit it, because they own the most amount of breweries of everybody. Oh, we lost Chris's sound.
And work, I was at a Giant Tiger. There was from the can. And it was so packed with non-alcoholic beer taste. I can say that non-alcoholic Corona has more flavor than regular Corona. Look at that beautiful heavy. Modit is 8%. Yes. What do you want to do? Do you want to go? Do you want to talk Sunbrew?
No, go ahead.
Matt Humphrey says Modit is everyone here I think is familiar with Modit. What a brilliant beer that is, and dangerous too. Modit is 8%. Is a Duvel strong, dark fruits, sugarcane, bananas, pinch of alcohol. Here it is, Jed. The Petite Modit is a 4% brown light beer, rye bread, bitter chocolate notes. Best light beer ever.
I want to try it now, but I would almost be more intrigued if Petite Modit was just a second running of the original Modit.
It could be. What do they call that? Party beer? Like party guile beer? The second runnings. John Smith says, if you give in to canceling and apologize. Athletic Brewing Company is at London Drugs. And I got to try this again. Athletic Brewing Company is at London Drugs. Non-alcoholic hazy pale ale. The Mustard says it was decent.
See, I'm not a big fan of. I've only had one Athletic Brewing Company beer, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Partially because of the price I had to pay, but I was shipping it to the Arctic, so who knows? Maybe it's a little different if I bought it down here.
The Mustard has something to say here, and I think you can really expand on this because we know what happens when big breweries buy craft breweries and just increase the distribution. The Mustard says Mill Street Vanilla Porter went to crap when Molson bought them. I knew I was going to get that breath. How about it, Chad?
Was it Molson that bought them? I thought it was Anheuser-Busch that bought them. I thought it was Labatt that bought.
It is Labatt's, yeah.
Okay, so it was Anheuser-Busch that bought them, and the main reason they bought Mill Street, and Steve isn't going to want you to know this. Luckily, it's been enough years that I probably can't get in trouble for it anymore. But the main reason they were bought was for their liquor license, because they had a license to distill, and buying them and Canada only had so many distilling licenses at the time. So buying them gave Labatt a distilling license, and it also gave them, because Diageo wouldn't let them use the Nitro widget anymore after they stopped distributing Diageo beers in Canada, because
Right.
Diageo used to be distributed, so Guinness could be distributed through Anheuser-Busch, but they had their own proprietary nitrogen item, and it was the tab affixed to the bottom of the can, which is what they used for their cobblestone stout and their nitro porter. So the main reasons they were bought were for those two reasons, and I don't think they gave a shit about the beer after they were bought. For about 6 months, they tried to fake it. Everything was the same, and I will agree with you. Everything went downhill. Even their organic lager, which I would drink on occasion, I won't touch anymore. It tastes like an average Anheuser-Busch lager. Where before it was what Chris and I both looked for, which was a crisp, clean, easy drinking lager. And I mean, it went to shit, and I'm sad about it. And you are correct. I love the vanilla porter. I especially loved it before they put the nitrogen in it. And I had a can the last time I was in Ontario, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I get with you. I agree with you. I'm sad.
But when a major brewer buys a craft product, they're generally just increasing distribution. If the beer then goes to shit, that's because they've changed the recipe.
And there are places where it all comes down to like adding new equipment and stuff. Like if you had Creemore Springs lager before Creemore Springs was bought by Molson,
Right.
Some people say the flavor went away, and but the recipe stayed the same. And they still swear that the recipe is the exact same. It's still the exact same brewmaster that was there before Molson bought them. What did change was equipment, because they went from being unfiltered and unpasteurized to having Molson's full 100% filtration system put in that goes down to like 0.001 particulates. And what it ended up doing was giving the beer shelf life, because the shelf life of Creemore Lager before Creemore became a Molson product was only a couple weeks to a couple months. Now it can sit on a shelf for years if it has to and still taste the same. But apparently the recipe is the exact same. The only difference is it's going through the giant fucking filter room.
Mhm.
And again, that's the major difference that happened to them. And Molson giving them the money to continue getting bigger and bigger and bigger vessels and bigger and bigger and bigger packaging lines and everything else, so that they could just start flowing out across the country. And they've done that to an extent, just flowing everywhere.
So that a craft brewery can succumb to greed when they have that kind of money coming in if they don't increase the ingredients to
That's
fulfill
the other
the
thing, right? Is once you start getting more and more distribution, that means your batches are getting bigger and bigger. And who's to say, as your batch is getting bigger, that it's going to be a fully scalable recipe? I mean, maybe your recipe, as you get bigger, and you're just thinking that you're just going to scale it, you want a double size batch, you just throw in double everything. That might not actually work. I mean,
because the money's not there. So if you were like people talk about Czechfire and Budvar compared to Budweiser, if you made craft to Budweiser on Budweiser scale, you'd be paying over $150 a two for. Brian Smith, I went to Toronto Pride in 2019. Bud Light was a major main sponsor at the parade, so the straight tunnel vision community was taken by surprise about what Bud Light was already connected to. I've always liked that too. It's almost like at the end of the Scooby-Doo cartoon, the big cowboy hero at the end pulls off the mask and says, "Hey, fellas."
I'll be right back. I just got to take a pee. The Mustard's comment is up.
The Mustard says, "My mistake. It was Labatt. Ruined one of my favorite winter beers." This gets a little tricky when he goes for a pee because I can't read the comments. What the fuck have I got for you? Let's have it pop up in the comments. What's the current go-to weekend beer for everyone here? We're getting into the nice temperatures, the summertime. Are you a wheat beer drinker? Light beer? Lager? Strong beer? When Chad's done peeing his brains out, we'll talk about weekend beers. I wish I could hear what you guys are saying. How about that, Chadwick, though? He's survived quite a few mental storms.
Sorry, I'm back. Hello? Oh, Chris is stuck. Yeah, Chris is fully, he's a statue. Oh, Chris is left. All right. So, I think it's just me. I only have so much time left before my wife will yell at me that it's time to eat dinner. So we'll see what goes on here. Do I want the mango sour from District? You know what? I'll have one more Great Western Lime. And then I'll join the wife upstairs and see what's going on. What our summer go-to beer is. When I lived in Ontario, it was Stiegl Radler or Bud Light Radler. And those were the two beers I was after all the time during the summer. I love them both. I still do. Stiegl Radler, way too expensive for my blood here in Saskatchewan, but I love it. I really do. My go-to beer for the summer from what I've had here. As of right now, would probably be the multinational 9 Mile Legacy collab, the Two-Headed Monster. I don't think I've put the video up for it yet, but it was a great light lager. I haven't had a Sam Adams lager in a very long time. And the Bulldog was good when I was in Winnipeg and I had it. It was very good. But yeah, yeah. For Radlers I can get here for a reasonable price, though. Great Western does not make a horrible Radler. And you can get it on sale at Sobeys Liquor or Urban Cellars every once in a while, to the point where it's under $2 a can. It's I've seen it as low as like $31 for the 24-pack, which is immensely amazing for here. And the next time I see a sale like that, I will have to go and stock up on it because I actually quite enjoy the Great Western Radlers. That could go in so many very bad places, Brian. But what beer would Vince McMahon like? You know what beer Vince McMahon would like? I will show you what beer Vince McMahon would like. And I can guarantee you he would enjoy the Bukkake beer. That's the beer Vince McMahon would like. Hybrid Vigor from 9 Mile Legacy was really good, Mustard. It was quite good. It really was. It claims to be a hybrid amber, but it's labeled as a Marzen on Untapped and Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, but it's a very good amber. Dare I say, one of the best I've had. Bushwhacker makes a Irish red that is spec fucking tacular and is really worth the time to try and find it if you can. I mean, Bushwhacker's only available at the Bushwhacker Brew Pub, but if you ever come through Regina and they have it, it's really worth a pickup. Oh, Chris is back. I don't know. There we go.
The usual, Chad. You left and everything went to shit. I drink this. Oh, when you were gone, I asked them what's the current go-to weekend beer for everybody. John Schmidt saying I drink rum, if I can pronounce that, or Smuggler's Rum. When I drink beer, it's Bush. Oh, hey boy, it's Bush Ice. Hey, or Moosehead Ice. My kind of guy. John Schmidt reiterates Smuggler's Cove Dark Rum. Not too. We don't tend to drink too much of the hard stuff on this show, unless we're talking Fax 10.
That's you. That's you that drinks the Fax 10, man. Yeah. I mean, I have no qualms with any of the suggestions out there. I was asked by the Mustard about any other crisp, clean amber ales, and I did bring up Hybrid Vigor from 9 Mile Legacy. I brought up Bushwhacker's Irish Red, which is a spectacular beer.
A crisp, clean amber ale?
Yep. There is a very good Irish Red from High Key as well. I'm trying to think of things he might see in his area right now, but if we're not looking at your area, I mean, if you can get like Creamore's Urbach, it's pretty fucking good.
Some of those common beers that we haven't seen in a while. It's not an ale, but Warsteiner Dark Lager is excellent, ice cold. Brian Smith says, "What is a beer you prefer cold, not fresh off the floor?"
The Alberta Genuine Draft Light and the No Name Beer and the No Name Beer Light, all three of those cold are very respectable. Not cold, you should never touch them.
Alberta Genuine Draft, is that from our fine folks at Minhas?
No, Alberta Genuine Draft is apparently, I do believe, Big Rock.
John Smith says all of them. I think he's just talking about go-to beers for the weekend. High Key in Saskatoon. What type of beer is High Key?
High Key is the brewery. They make some great beers, though. I mean, I've really liked their London Fog was amazing. Their Irish Red was really fucking good. They make a stout called Not Short, just Stout, really good. A mango raspberry sour, which is really good. They have so many really good beers. Their Mexican guava lager was really good. Um, yeah, lots of great stuff from them.
Before I get to Brian's comment here, if we can go back a little bit to, hey, take it easy. What are your parameters on a smoke beer?
I know that most people want a smoked beer to be like in your face smoke and this and that, and I mean we've had some great ones like the stuff from and all that shit. But those beers basically taste like you're licking a piece of bacon. They're so smoky, it's not funny. They're good beers, they are, but they're not what I'm looking for. I like my smoked beers to be a lot more mellow because I'd like to have more than one of them. I don't want to drink one smoked beer and not be able to have any more beer because my entire palate has been destroyed.
Well, then this sets up Brian's question quite well here. What makes a beer clean and crisp?
And I mean clean and crisp. And I mean you hear that all the time, right? Like it's clean, it's crisp. Well, what makes it clean? For a clean and crisp beer, for it to be clean, it shouldn't leave a whole bunch of residual flavor all over your palate. You should taste it, like you should be able to take it and go, okay, there's some lime, there's some straw, there's this and that, but it should clear off the palate rather quickly. Not all that clean, even though I like this beer. Not all that clean because I still have that fake lime taste on the back of my palate as of right now.
With Brian's comment there, when I've been doing my beer reviews on Sunday, I'm close to 0 for 4 with beers passing for being judged under style guidelines. Where are you on style guidelines and breweries that continue to push through the wall?
I picked up a French saison at Urban Cellars yesterday. I didn't buy it, but I picked it up to look at it because it was like French saison, historically accurate and this and that. And then I saw the ABV of 7%, and I put it down and said, "Fuck you." There are styles that I think should be stylistically correct, especially if you're going to talk about the history of the beer and use that as part of your selling features.
Right.
I think lagers should be stylistically correct because, I mean, a lager, most people that are picking up a lager aren't looking for a beer that's going to be punching you in the face with flavor. They're looking for a beer that they can session and have a bunch of and get drunk watching the game or this and that, or just have a good time. A saison, a grisette, stuff like that should be stylistically correct to me. A Marzen, even to an extent, a Munich Dark, all that type of stuff should be stylistically correct because it's all your really easy drinking styles and your light ABV styles should be stylistically correct to me. The bigger, badder the beer you get, the more I don't care about what you're playing with because you have more things to hide with and you have more of an open category. I mean, there are some categories in the imperial styles where if you read their things, like their SRM ranges in like 30 points. 30 points is like yellow to black. Like if you have that much of a range, go at it. Do whatever the fuck you want. But if your range is like 2 numbers, you should really try to stay stylistically correct. I think the time that bothers me the most with the stylistically correct beers, though, is once we get to the brewing awards. Because the brewing awards should be much more like a dog show or anything like that. This is the criteria. You don't meet this criteria, you don't win. But half the time it's, hey, we're in the lager criteria. Just the American lager criteria. We're hopped the fuck out. But we won? How the fuck did you win? Where the fuck did your judges go? I failed my first judging. Like when I did my very first BGCP test, I failed because I wasn't 100% on the styles, because you have to follow those styles perfectly in your test. But then you go to these awards and people are like, "Hey, this cream ale is the best pale ale we've had." How? It's a fucking regular cream ale. How did it fucking meet the stylistic criteria of a pale ale, motherfuckers? And
Well,
that shit bothers me.
the cream ale is the ultimate test of restraint for for a brewer. I had one recently, and I would describe it as it was like I was drinking a homebrew shop. All right. We have any more comments?
One last, and then I think I'm going to go see what I have for dinner.
The mustard says Trappist beers. Not sure if I've had a historically correct one.
Okay, so a Trappist beer is a beer brewed by a monk at their monastery, and there is a lot of abbey ales that you'll get. You'll get stuff like Leff. And what Leff is Anheuser-Busch paid an abbey to use their name. It's not a Trappist beer. How Roche, you can get some great Trappist beers, but there's a lot of not Trappist beers that you're led to believe are Trappist that are coming out of Belgium, that are coming out of France. What is most of the Trappist beers you're going to get are out of Belgium. There's West Volaterran, West Mall, Rochefort.
Is Weinstefano, or is that just a German brewery? No,
that's just a German brewery. There's one in the U.S. There's one in Russia. Oh, there's one in Austria, and I can't remember its name. And I think there's 2 or 3 more I'm missing out of Belgium. What the fuck is Chimay? Chimay is Trappist, is it not?
It was.
I need to look this up now before I go upstairs.
To the Google.
the Google. I'm going to the Google, sir. Because I need to know now. Because there are a lot. Well, there's a lot, but there's not a lot at the same time.
There's an old Michael Jackson video of when he visited the Chimay Brewery. They talked about the 3 mainstay beers that they have. And the monk said that they don't drink the beer anymore because the alcohol is too strong. But I thought about that. Like, nobody's really kicking you over the head with a phone book to make it 6%.
Okay, so there is currently 11 Trappist breweries in the world.
That's a very tiny number for the amount of breweries that we now have.
Yes. So Chimay, Stift Engelscell, which is the Austrian one. Koningshoven, which is the one in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Mondecott, which is in France. Orval, which is in Belgium. I really miss Orval, to be honest with you. Rochefort, the Fontaine in Italy. Mount St. Bernard Abbey in England.
An Italian Trappist brewery?
Yep.
Interesting.
West Mall, West Volaterran, and the last one is Tolvul. I can't. It's in the Netherlands. The one in the U.S. that I was thinking of, it closed in 2022 during the pandemic.
These Trappist breweries, are they all making the same stuff in regards to Dubels, triples, and quads?
Yeah, for the most part, they're all still making their. Well, Orval is just Orval, right? That's the only one we've ever had. Do you still get Orval in the LCBO? I haven't seen Orval in forever. I used to love Orval. And then, like, West Volaterran 12 is considered to be the best beer ever made in the world. It's told to be the best beer, the 100 out of 100. If you buy a bottle of West Volaterran 12, you're paying a lot of money. At one point, it was $180 for a 6-pack, so you were looking at $30 a bottle. Well, Rochefort 8 and Rochefort 10
Right.
are arguably close to the same beer. Rochefort 10 is actually supposed to be the exact same recipe made by a different set of monks, and since they're not at West Volaterran, you can get a bottle of Rochefort 10 when you used to be able to buy it all the time at the LCBO. You could get the bottle for like $3.75. So if I can buy the bottle for $3.75, I can buy almost 10 bottles of it for the price of one bottle of West Volaterran 12. Why would I want West Volaterran 12? Like it's those type of questions, right? West Mall, I was never a big fan of. Their beers were way too dry for me. Chimay, I was never a huge fan of, but I loved Rochefort. I loved Orval. The one from Austria there, the Stiff Engels. I bought one of their packs in the US once, and they made some really good beers too, and they made some really random ones like honey infused and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's I wish there was more Trappist breweries, but again, 11 of them in the world. That's hysterically small, and you will get a lot of beers that are like Trappist style, or say they're Abbey ales.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the Abbey ales, to an extent, are even made the same way as the Trappist beers, but it's not the actual monks that make it. You're just using the Abbey's name, and that's where the confusion comes. There has been class action lawsuits against that, just like there was class action lawsuits against Anheuser-Busch when Beck started getting made in the U.S., but still said it was following the German purity law and everything like that because they weren't being made in Germany anymore. So there's so many interesting things in the beer world, and a lot of people don't even realize what goes on behind closed doors. But Chris, do you have any closing comments? Because I can smell good food upstairs, and my light just went.
Okay, good Saskatchewan ghost there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look a little bit further into that Italian Trappist brewery because I can't imagine any kind of traditional Trappist beer going with any kind of Italian cuisine. With that, folks, it was good having you tonight. I hope we were of some enlightenment. It was good talking to you, Chad. And with that, take it easy, fellas. It's
Bye,
the
guys.
weekend.
That it is. Oh, we're leaving.